Hello guys, welcome to another mixing tutorial. Today we're taking a look at my tones on my cover of Origin of Escape. The first Monument song I ever learned on guitar. And the rest, as you guys know, is history. So I will first turn off my master bus processing to go over it at the end, the way I would do when normally mixing. As for this awesome drum sound, it's all modern and massive, which is cool because I know that's what some of you guys have. And I will send you back to the Monuments I the Destroyer mix tutorial on October 5th. Oh my god, look at that old Reaper. Oh, Jesus. Yo, that looked way worse. Okay. This is where I will describe the whole drum sound in great detail. The mixing tutorial is 41 minutes. Maybe 20 of it is drums. So Monuments I the Destroyer mix tutorial will get you the full rundown on the drum sound. Using the thickest modern and massive shells, the Pearl Vinny Paul snare, and my favorite recording custom, toms and kick. Cause they be thick. You'll know how to get this drum sound. The reason I like this one for the Monuments covers is because it feels a bit natural. Doesn't feel as processed as some of my other kits. Alright, from there we can just skip over to bass tone. Here's the DI I have recorded. You'll notice it is finger bass, except for some parts like this one. And that will require some differences in processing. Not too many, but I'll show you. So the basis of the tone is the STL Tonality Will Putney plugin on the cleaned up preset for additional bass tones. It's a very scooped sound for a bass tone. It instantly sounds more rock and roll than your DI. I just boosted the treble and the mid-range especially to make sure that it wasn't that scooped. You can hear this very annoying resonance, which I took out here at 2.8K. I'll boost it. It's not fully gone, but it's gone enough that it's not annoying. After that, it's really time to compress the bass because these finger parts are very dynamic and quiet compared to the picked parts. They're mostly quieter, but then the slaps are very loud. That's where compression is going to come in. This is a new compressor I got. It's free up to a certain date, so if you're watching this, go check if the Pulsar Smasher is still free to get. This is an emulation of an all buttons in setting on an 1176. So all you do is literally input the signal harder or less hard to get gain reduction, and then dial your output. You can also blend it in, which I did at about 80%, so there's some of the dry signal there. And let's check a before and after. If you ignore the volume difference, it's making the bass quieter, obviously. But But it also makes sure that every note is the approximate same volume and the pops have a cool character to them instead of just straight up popping into your ear. So that's what this does. But the ultimate pop killer is my usual limiter, L1. L1 is going to take care of that for you, as you'll see here. You see, as I turn it on, the pops immediately become flatter and the bass tone can be more consistent. If you're looking for loud pops, don't go for this technique. But if you want to control them because they're too loud where you're standing, you can cut them down with a limiter. So there you go. Moving on to guitar tone. Let's actually listen to both of these. Sounds like a good drum and bass balance. All right, let's check this guitar tone out. Those are my DIs. The basis for the guitar tone is the Will Putney Amp Sim again. This time we are using the 5150 emulation. We started on the Heavy 1 preset. And I believe I switched the cab to cab 4, which is my favorite because of its mid-range. They're all cool, but Cabinet 4, I'm more used to. In retrospect, maybe Cabinet 3 with the right EQ could have done it, but I like 1 and 4. The 5150 I chose because it was on the Heavy 1 preset, and it's the more genty amp, if that makes sense, because this Uberschall is very thick, this Mesa is very tight, good for leads, and this one is just a fat monster that didn't fit this. So yeah, 5150 there. A very conservative guitar EQ, some filtering, up to 90 hertz. It's all rumble that belongs to the bass and kick. The slightest scoop at 1000 hertz, very negligible. That's the character. This was a little ring. And this is a filter to get rid of some fizz, if we can solo that. Very subtle, unnecessary frequencies there. And then my usual guitar compressor. I usually compress the guitars to make sure that the palm mutes aren't becoming louder than they should be, which they usually do because of the low end energy. Actually barely hitting the compressor. So okay, if we're being accurate, this guy can be turned off and we'll just boost this decibel of change. But yeah, I usually like doing that, but there wasn't too much low-end energy on the guitars after this guy, actually. So that's cool. Let's check out this lo-fi guy. For lo-fi tones, I usually like to grab the main rhythm tone right here and kill the gain, make it very, very low gain. Not too low gain that you only hear pick attack. And then go to the EQ on the plugin and just destroy it with the filters. This is a high-end filter that goes all the way down to 5.6K. And this is a low-end filter that goes all the way up to 330. If I turn them off, it's a decent volume and bandwidth sound, but lo-fied. And then you just accentuate the filters again with whatever EQ you want. I'm not going too aggressive on this one. It could be something like this. But when you still want to keep the integrity of the sound, don't overdo it. All right, let's check out this clean boy. So that's middle pickup position on the Eito Stringo. The first thing is to compress the DI a little bit. There's a lot of raking, a lot of pick attack that can and should be controlled. If you look here, down here on the meter, you can see how much more consistent this becomes after the compressor. Into our amp simulator, the SS11X by Mercurial Audio. I like this guy for cleans. I really like him. The stock cabinets really work for my type of clean sound. I still need to find something that works even better. They're just very bassy for the purpose I usually use them, so I cut down almost all the bass and some of the mids. Into 12 seconds of reverb at 50% mix and getting rid of a lot of the rumble beneath 300 Hertz. That is the big world of difference. And then here comes a big change in EQ. I wanted to take out a lot of low end and some mid-range so that the sound could become brighter, because I didn't like what making it brighter Hero was doing. I cut the low end on an EQ. So check a before and after. You can hear the low end boominess become a lot more controlled. It's just your usual high pass filter at 200, a little cut at 350, and a bigger cut at 900. Guitar compressor, another one, but this one is compressing after the amp, so it's taking down the reverb together with the pick attack signal and making them one nice sausage of tone. Yeah, when the note is a little bit too loud, this guy is gonna help me take care of that. Let's move on to these verse cleans. I think they are the same tone as the, they're the same tone as the that other clean I just explained, but the compressor and amp are individually on each of these tracks, which are octaves of each other. That's the main one, and then there's an octave blended in. Just so you get those Fell Silent, Tesseract, Old Monuments cleans. Which is very, very cool. And then the effects should be roughly the same. Okay, the reverb is only 8 seconds and only 35% mix. So we cut down on the reverb. The EQ is just a more relaxed variant of that scoop I did before. Filter goes down to 140. The cut at 350, way less. And the scoop at 900, way less. Also the high-end filters, almost negligible. Compressor should be doing about the same amount of work, or maybe a bit more. Making sure the peaks of the notes don't destroy your ears. And then the main culprit for this being on a new track is that it needed a cool half-note delay. So that's half notes, of course, ping pong, so that it's made stereo, good amount of feedback so that it goes on for a while, and about 40% mix is where it sounds correct. 50% makes the repeats as loud as the main note. And that can be a bit confusing. So 40 is a nice distinction there. Filters at 200 and 8K so that the repeats are just a little bit filtered and distinguishable from the main sound. And 1% modulation so that they're just a little bit out of tune. H delay as the king of delays. That is basically the mix, guys. There's some explosions I added just to make it pop a little bit more, because on this mix, as you can tell, so 8-string mix where the bass is the same note as the guitars. So there's no low octave force there. It's the kick is a little bit lonely, so some explosions come in very handy that you'll hear. You'll even find that after that, the mix kind of sounds a little bit empty and opens up. All right, so Master Bus. Here's Gullfoss. Gullfoss is a magical EQ that takes a snapshot of human hearing and boosts what it thinks the human ear would like most about your mix. So let's watch it react to my mix. For example, you see when it's only cymbals, it's boosting a lot of low end because like, what the fuck is this mix? You need some bass because there's only cymbals playing. The most important thing for me, as you see there, is that the kick, when it's hitting, there's no low end boost, but as soon as the kick is not hitting, it lets the bass open up in that region. Then it does some magic in the mid-range to decongestion it, and it usually boosts a lot of 12K, 13K to give it a nice sheen, but the cymbals on this kit were way too harsh for me to let it do that. So I took you can also filter what frequencies this is acting on. So you see that? I thought that was too much, so it's only reacting to up to 8K. That's a cool trick with Gullfoss I just learned. Mix bus compression, we're just aiming to hit the kick and snare a little bit to give the mix some glue and energy, as well as the transformer steel option on this compressor. What this does is it gives it a little bit of a 50 hertz bump, which we need in this mix because the bass is lacking in that region since it's such a high tuned bass. So yeah. You should hear the mix thicken immediately and also the kick and snare pop in a little bit more. My multi-band compressor. So this guy is like my final advisor on my mix. And it's where I get to make adjustments to individual frequency regions of my mix. I hate that it's starting there. You can see it's reacting like a normal compressor, but you can individualize frequency bands. What I usually like to do with it is control guitars right here in the mid-range one. If I make it work harder, you'll hear it kill the guitars. But here what I did is use the highest one, the 11K and above one, to control cymbals. So it's a cool tool. You should try using a multi-band compressor on your master bus and seeing how it helps. Lastly, limiter. This is just brain dead limiting. All I want to do is to hit the kick and snare and chop them off so I can bring the rest up. You can see very light limiting work, only the kick and snare peaks are being cut down, and the mix isn't too loud as a result and not too distorted. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for being a patron.